This is Matt and Chris from the Comic Hall and Roundtable Discussion, and today we're going to give you 10 black comic book characters that you should be looking for right now. Now, we know with the sad passing of Chadwick Boseman over a week ago, a lot of people are starting to pick up steam into African American or whether people of
Hmm.
color uh, comic book characters. So we've got our list in no particular order of characters and books that you could be looking for. And some of these characters are right up under your nose. You just never even thought about it. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man.
All
It's a
right.
good day.
Excellent. Hey, man, anytime you do a top 10 list on the Comment Hall around Table
It's
Discussion,
yeah, it's a
you
good day.
know it's a good day. So
That is true.
let's get things, man. Who you got on your list, man? Who you got number one on your list, man?
You know what? Number one on my list is actually somebody who uh probably doesn't have his own comic book. When I looked around, I didn't find anything that showed that he had his own comic book. But he's somebody who has been a pivotal part of Marvel history, as far as Spider-Man is concerned, at least. And it's Joe Robbie Robertson. Like he's been J. Jonah Jameson's right hand man. He was in at least the first three Spider-Man movies.
Yep.
So you saw him there. He's always in the Spider-Man comics in the background, giving Peter like those words of wisdom that Uncle
Yep.
Ben's not there to give him anymore. Um, and he's a really great, solid character that I feel probably should be introduced to the MCU since they've done a good job with Spider-Man to a degree, even though they won't use with great power comes great responsibility. I think if they give him Robbie, maybe we can get around not using that line because he'll get other great advice from Robbie.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, man. I think he's a character. He's kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily say Alfred, but close to it in the sense
Oh yeah,
that he's all like you said. He's always around. He's giving words of wisdom, and he's that guy just in the background. And you know, I forgot what issue it is. What issue is it, man? That he debuts in? It's
he debuts in the Spider-Man comic somewhere deep in the run, like
yeah,
back in like 1967, somewhere
yeah.
along in there.
It's in
So
the
he
one.
wasn't there at the beginning, but he was definitely there somewhere around like the 30s or so.
As a matter of
Um,
fact, we're gonna put it up on the screen. So here you go, right here.
there you go.
All right. So I've got someone who was recently in the MCU and on Netflix, and I went with Misty Knight
Oh
because I think Misty Knight is still a character, even though they're
yeah,
probably gonna do some recasting, which I hate. They're gonna recast. You know, I really like her, Misty Knight as Misty. You know, the lady played Misty Knight as Misty Knight. Excellent job, especially right before they decided to axe the whole, you know,
Netflix
Netflix. Yeah,
Marvel
man, that
universe.
was a heartbreaker. I mean,
Oh man.
they left me hurting with Luke Cage, but
Oh man.
Misty Knight is another character that is very popular, and she's a character that I can see them uh, moving forward down the line. And when I say down the line, we've got Shang-Chi coming out within,
Hmm.
I think next year. And so if they decide to roll with the Daughters of the Dragon, this is really a perfect way, I think, to kind of bring
To
her
roll that
and
all
bring Colleen,
together.
yeah, back in together, you know. And so I think that would be someone that would be uh, worth picking up down the line. And for those who are looking, she's in Marvel. She debuted in Marvel Premiere number 20.
You think they'll give it a full-on metal arm treatment? Hopefully,
You know, personally, my wish would be for them to recast the same person and just pick up where they left off on Netflix
from
because
Luke
we know,
Cage.
yeah,
Yeah,
because she's already been established. But we know, it's just really no telling. You don't know what Disney's gonna pull. So Disney
that
could
is true.
Disney could probably go, well. People know who she is from Netflix, so
Hmm.
that would be the easiest way. I just don't feel this is when we talk about, and we talk about this on the show a lot. I just feel like some of these characters are characters that have already been established that Disney does not have to go back and re-establish.
Exactly.
Just go ahead and cast the person, put them in the role that they
Right.
should
We
be in.
don't need yet another origin story kind of thing.
Yep. All right. So next up, who do you have, my friend?
Next on my list is a character who we've seen in movies, and it's only in one comic book, and we've seen a representation of her on the big screen. Which nothing against Angelina Jolie, but she played the character of the Fox, who is my next on my list. from the comic book Wanted by Mark Miller. And when you read the trade paperback, you see the little interview with Mark is that when he created the characters and he had the artwork and everything done with the people he was working with, he had specific people in mind for each character. And when he originally created the Fox and was doing the comic book, he envisioned Halle Berry to be the Fox. Unfortunately, when it came around to Wanted getting made as a comic book movie, Angelina Jolie was casted, and so that ended up being that. But the Fox is an extremely well written character for such a short comic, because Wanted is probably only 6 issues. At this point, you could probably find it in individual 6 issues in a dollar bin, or a trade paperback for probably like $10-$12 or so, because the movie now has been out for so long.
Yeah,
it's not at the top of the top of the pile kind of comic book movie. I'm pretty sure most people probably didn't even know it was a comic book movie when it was made.
You taught me something today, because I never even, and I probably looked at, I'm pretty sure I've looked at it, but just never even correlated the two together.
Right.
Even to make, to say, oh, this is a comic book, I just never even thought about it. I just thought Wanted was Wanted.
Yeah. It's also different because it was done by Top Cow, and most people, when they think of comic book movies, they think of something from Marvel or DC, and Top Cow's kind of that, like, annoying little sibling. It's like, look, the picture I drew, and, so yeah, I know when it came out, just like with everything else we talked about on the comic hall, I remember I accidentally saw it the day it came out because I was living in Alabama, and accidentally saw the movie the day it came out at a little theater, and went to go pick up the comic later on, the trade paper, and it cost me an extra like $10 that day than it normally costs to pick up, but it was worth it because the Fox is an amazingly great and well written character from the perspective that she has in the comic, because she's basically like his mentor.
Yeah.
And so, she's been doing this for a while, and so she's kind of just like showing him the ropes, but also really breaking him in, because she's like, it's kind of like there's no crying in baseball, like just get with it so we can keep moving. So yeah, the Fox is definitely a character that is a black character that people should really even more so because in the one representation of her we got, we didn't even get the true version of her for the movie. So that is definitely a character that is a person of color that people should look up and read about.
All right. Well, another person of color is someone who is, you talk about orange is the new black. Well, you got Kamal Kogo from Bitch Planet #1, which is also a very underrated book, and a book that I've seen in dollar bins. Now, we talk about shows that can get optioned at any time. Put this right at the top of the list of it, because this is a character that fits all the molds: tough, martial arts, kick-ass, badass. Bitch Planet #1 is a book that I've got 3 or 4 copies of. At one point, it was hard to get. Now you can. I picked up one yesterday in a dollar bin. In the 50-cent bin. As a matter
Oh
of
man,
50-cent bin. So this is a book and a character that I think that people gravitate towards. String. We know that they're pushing a strong black woman. This is the strong black woman right here. So you definitely want to pick that one up. And once again, Bitch Planet #1 is a very underrated book. Very, very underrated book. Underrated series. I think it's been rolling for about 4 years now.
Something like that, yeah.
4 or 5 years, and still rolling along. And this is something that when we talk about shows that can end up on Netflix, shows that can end up on Amazon, Hulu, this fits right under that mold. So
right in there.
Yep. What you got next, man?
Speaking of Amazon, my number 3 on the list is a really great character for a number of reasons, and it's Mother's Milk from The Boys on Amazon. Yep. I love Mother's Milk because there's like that small differences between like the comic book representation and what he's like in the show, but also because here we are with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and people talked about how he was our king as the Black Panther, but here we are with Mother's Milk, who is another representation of a black male on television. He's not a drug dealer, he's not a pimp, he's actually doing something good, by his own morals. He's a great representation Yes, it may be ultra violent to some degree, but sometimes violence is the only way to get your point across.
Yeah.
That's why Mother's Milk made my list. He's a great character. For some odd reason, you haven't been reading The Boys, but you've been watching the TV show. Go pick up a couple of issues of the trade papers. It's going to be on for a while. Season 2 just debuted, and before season 2 even debuted, they were renewed for season 3.
Yeah.
So The Boys are going to be around for a while. Go pick up the comics before it costs you an arm and a leg.
Next up is one that everybody should know. Storm. We talk about Black Panther. We never talk about his wife, ex-wife, brother. Depending
Ex-wife.
on who you talk to. Ex-wife. So Storm is another one. Giant size X-Men #1. If you can get your hands on it, good luck. But if you can't afford that, then Storm had several runs, but her most notable one was Storm #1. This was in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say 2000s, something along that line. It's up on the screen.
She had another one this past year too.
Yeah, and she did. She had just had another run. So Storm was a character that's already popular in the X-Men universe. Halle Berry, we know, of course, played her in the old X-Men movies.
X-Men movies.
I'm positive she's going to get picked up again. The same way Shuri has already picked up, who is not on this list, by the way, on anybody's list. I think Shuri's not on this because we all know that that happened. But Storm is another character that I think a lot of Black women will gravitate towards once she makes her debut into the MCU, if you're not already accustomed to who she is. She plays a pivotal role in the X-Men universe. She's, of course, she's I always call her the level-headed one of the batch. She tends to work with the children at school, and she tends to, when she needs to flex, she can and she will flex. So Storm is a character that I think that people could gravitate towards. And also, like I said, if you can afford her first appearance, go for it. It's definitely be a book that'll probably taper up down the line.
Oh yeah, definitely. Next on my list is he's considered the third smartest man in the DC universe. But so it's really weird that he only recently got a comic book. It's Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
Here's a character, who he is.
Have you noticed the correlation
I get it.
Fantastic, terrific, and they're usually the smartest one.
Yeah, he's smart. His character in his origin, he lost his wife. She passed, and that's when he decided to use his genius to try to be a superhero. But he's also like a triathlete, so he's extremely well fit. He's like Olympic level athlete on top of being extremely genius. That is a combination. That is a deadly combination. I'm pretty sure at times he's taught Batman a thing or two as far as intelligence is concerned, because he's more intelligent than even Batman is. But Mr. Terrific is a really good character, but I feel like he was underused until he got his comic, because you always saw him just in the background. Yeah. He was just like the smart tech guy. It was like, oh man, the internet's not working in the Watchtower. Call Mr. Terrific. Right, he'll fix it. He can figure out why I can't get it to print.
That's why he's terrific.
But now. Right. But his comic book was really good, called The Terrifics, oddly enough. It was actually his team. It was him, Phantom Girl from like Legion of Superheroes, Plastic Man, and Metamorpho were actually it was just the four of them. And it was a really good comic because it let him showcase his leadership ability. And there were no, Mr. Terrific and the Terrifics are in trouble. Here comes the Justice League to save them. Like, it was always just them in the comic book. And everybody looked at him and his intelligence to get them out. And that's a rare thing in a team comic book, especially for an African-American character to be the leader and be the one that everybody looks to for whatever's going on. It's like, he'll fix this. Those are two rare things to see in that kind of a comic book.
Yep. Awesome. Well, next up is someone we also should already know. Extremely popular, even had 3 movies back in the 90s and early 2000s. And that is Blade. Now, Blade they're already talking about bringing Blade into the MCU, and of course, Tomb of Dracula 10 is it's a book that if you want to pay a nice penny, you're gonna pay a nice penny. But if you go back,
Blade first appearance.
Yep. But if you go back about a year ago, I did a top 10 list, And the first appearance of Deacon Frost is, once again, I'm putting it back up here again. It's another one of those books that is completely undervalued. Tomb 10 is cool, but if you can get your hands on the first appearance of Deacon Frost, because they're going to have to retell that story about
Mm-hmm.
how Blade came into be, and Deacon Frost is the main character that has a part in that, and so it would only make sense that they would go back and revisit that. So that book is
Yeah.
undervalued. I've seen it taper up a little bit in the 20s, 30s. I mean, I will say I've been to a few stores and I've seen it in dollar bins, a little beat up, albeit, but it's in dollar bins. So you just have to take a chance and dig, or you can look in regular loan boxes. Sometimes stores, that's one of those books. That first appearance of Deacon Frost is one of those books that, unless the shop owner is exact, just straight out knows what it is, most times they look past it, because most times they're looking for Tomb 10, 11, 12, and then they look for those first couple appearances of Blade, and and then that's it. Pretty much everything else, Tomb of Dracula, is thrown to the trash heap. But there's a ton of key
Yeah.
issues in Tomb of Dracula. So I think that they'll be revisiting that, and of course, they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do with Morbius and how they're gonna, all this interchange.
Oh man. Oof.
Blade will be perfect for some if you want to try to get into his background and how he came to be. And we're not going to talk about the third movie.
No. That's why when you said he's had 3 movies, I was like, more like 2,
More
but
like two.
um last one on my list is a seriously underrated and probably, given today's pop culture with comics and everything, probably has not been heard of. And that is Martha Washington. You talked about strong black female lead when you were talking about Storm, and you want to talk about a good Saturday night. Imagine Martha Washington and Storm having their own individual movies, and you just back to back at the theater. You just go watch one and you go watch the other one.
That's a
Great
dollar
character,
bin book, man.
man. Yeah, because nobody. She's a Frank Miller character, but she's not 300 and she's not Sin City, so people don't seem to care. And so definitely a dollar bin book, and go get it now before somebody realizes who Martha Washington is and Hollywood snatches her up and we all seeing Viola Davis playing Martha Washington.
You read my mind. That's exactly who I said. That is
That's
right
it.
down her alley, man. You
Right
talking
there.
about that is I can see
Man,
her playing that role without a problem, man. I mean, that is right up her
telling
alley.
you. She's right
Yeah.
there for it.
And like I said, that's a dollar book. I've got 4 copies of that. One I bought myself, and the other 3 were given to me. I mean, those books, I see them all the time.
Yo.
And especially if you can, it's a white book. So if you can find it in good condition and hold on to it, man, I guarantee you. Just like he said, this is a book that, is just out there to be got. So,
Waiting for somebody to pick it up, discover it.
all right. So, next up, we talk about characters that are thrown to the trash heap. I'm going to use a modern book for her, but it's Vixen. And it's Vixen Return of the Lion #1. Vixen is a character that is always just nobody talks about Vixen. Vixen is just completely out of the loop. I think was it Bumblebee, Teen Titans, it gets more love than Vixen.
Well, she had some last year because year before
About
last,
3 years
2018,
ago. Yeah.
somewhere along there, when the actress became a main character on DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Vixen was actually on TV on a high-rated television show.
But you know what? That tells you how far out of loop I was on the CW, man. Because I stopped watching the show, so I didn't even know it.
Yeah,
Wow.
Vixen.
So,
She was main character on the show. Has a animated movie on the CW also for when she was introduced with the Flash and Green Arrow.
now that I remember. I do remember Flash and Green Arrow. I remember hearing about that. And you know what? I think that with DC doing what I would call a somewhat softer reboot, that
Yeah.
she could pop up at any time. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of what DC's doing now. I think that it's going to open doors for a lot of these characters. Black Lightning is not on my list, but Black Lightning is another character that
Oh yeah.
we've talked about this off air. Black Lightning is a character that relates really well with today's current events.
Well, he's in the on the because the Young Justice TV show when it went off of being on regular syndicated television, went on to be on the DC streaming service for its third season. But the third season of that show ends with Black Lightning and Jefferson Pierce becoming the leader of the Justice League.
Wow. Because I haven't watched season 3. No,
Yeah.
you hadn't spoiled it for me. But wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah, that's it. And in 2018, end of 2018, beginning of 2019, Vixen was the leader of the Justice League in the comics.
Wow.
It was her, Black Canary, Lobo, a couple other people, but she was leading a Justice League.
Sweet. See? Vixen.
Yeah.
You pick it up. Vixen, #1, Return of the Light.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last on the list is somebody that we should all know, and somebody who, if you don't have this book in your collection, then shame on you. And that is Spawn #1. Spawn #1. One of the longest running comic books of all time. And we're talking like now when we talk about value books, we're looking at 309 is Out of the Roof. You got, it's just, and this is Spawn, a Black African American man as a superhero who is literally is probably one of the most depressing stories that you'll ever read. But Spawn, when you think about Spawn, you've got first 4 issues. #2 never gets any shine, and a lot of people don't even realize that that's the main debut of his nemesis, the Violator. So you got Spawn #1, and you've got Spawn #2, 2 key books that are, I'd say, almost under $20. I don't even think Spawn #1 is still, even with Spawn being Spawn, I still don't think Spawn #1 gets the love that it should get. Now, if you got the newsstand variant, it's like $75, $85, something along that line. But Spawn #1 is a book that should be priced way higher than what it is. And I know somebody's gonna say, "Well, Matt, it's because it's overprinted." No, Spawn is a solid character, and if they do this right, this next movie right, I can guarantee you, the book's gonna be going
skyrocket
just like that.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Well, that's it. Those are our 10 characters that are people of color that you should be looking for right now. So they're in dollar. Those books are in dollar bins.
Yeah.
Outside of Giant Size X-Men.
Marvel did a reprint, so they did their
True
whole.
Believers. Yeah.
You can get one of those True Believer reprints for like $1, I think.
Yeah, it is. That's in the dollar bin, depending on what store you go to.
Right.
So you can make sure you pick up one of those, man. Check out these books. Grab them while you can. Once again, our condolences to Chadwick Boseman. And he's way too young, but he's paved the way to have this discussion again on characters that people should maybe look into, and books that are undervalued. So a lot of these books are very undervalued. I think probably one of the most undervalued books on this list outside of Spawn #1 would be that Martha Washington Goes.
Oh man,
goes to Washington. I think that book,
I might go pick up an issue this weekend.
Yeah, I think that book is a sleeper hit waiting to happen, man. So Chris, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming out, man, for this top 10. And
of course,
once again, make sure everybody make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment Hall Roundtable Discussion. Tell a friend, tell everyone. Hit that bell, smash that like button. Hulk smash it. Peace.
Peace.